All right, you guys, good morning. I hope you are all doing well. I am Cherie Bennett, Director of the Office of Downtown Development, and I am joined by Ebony Simpson. Ebony, you want to introduce yourself?
Morning, everyone. I was on mute. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. My name is Ebony Simpson. I am the Organization and Strategic Planning Coordinator for the Office of Downtown Development.
And I know that we have Tracy as one of our DCA regional reps. We have any other regional reps present?
Annie.
All right. And then also joining me is Ellen Hill, and Ellen has some announcements for us.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Ellen Hill, Training and Compliance Coordinator, but I do have announcements. As you all probably have seen from the barrage of emails that I've sent out in the last few days, the online assessment platform is now live with Main Street America. So if you click on the link in the email that I sent you, it's mainstreetreporting.org. Everyone's contact information should be updated at this point. I went through and made sure that all of your contact information and all of the contacts that for the communities are in there. So you should be able to hop on and start completing that online form if you choose to do so now. So if you have any trouble logging into that account, just reach out to me, let me know. I can maybe fix that email, or you can also choose to change your password. If you don't remember what that is from last year, you can just reset it on your own. But if you have any more issues, just reach out to me and let me know. That email that I sent out on Tuesday has information about that. Everything that's due on January 15th for your assessments, like the documentation portion of it, and the checklist that you need to fill out as well. But in addition to that, it has a link to our last Coffee and Conversations recording, which is what we did when we went over the assessments for this year. And also there's a link to Main Street America's webinar that's next Tuesday, I believe, at 3:00, and that's a webinar from them talking about the assessment process. So if you want to hop onto that, you can register from that link. And then, if you have questions after all of that still, I'll be sending out emails and reminders for assessments. So no worries there. But if you have questions or you're unclear on anything, just, reach out to me during this process. I'm here for y'all. Speaking of webinars, we are planning to host a webinar also on October 21st, but we'll be doing that at 10 a.m. on DDRLF, so Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund, basically a deep dive for all the newbies, or if you don't feel comfortable with that process. We're going to have Sally Maroose on there, and she's going to talk about DDRLFs, the process, what that looks like, what you should do, how you should do it. But we're also inviting Amanda Glover to come on the call on the webinar as well, and just getting it from a local manager perspective. Amanda has extensive experience with DDRLF, and she can talk about projects and how it's impacted her downtown. So register for that as well. I think I sent an email out to everyone, maybe in the last week or so, for registrations on that. But if you need a link to it, just let me know. I'd be happy to send it to y'all. Speaking of other trainings that we're offering, y'all go ahead and mark your calendars for January 20th and 21st. We are bringing back Deb from Oriana Solutions, who we had last May in Valdosta. And so she did strategic planning. It kind of turned into a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it really turned into, we need more conflict resolution discussions. And that was a really great training. Everybody was so involved in it. And so we're bringing her back to talk about conflict resolution. So registration will be coming soon for that, but we do have January 20th and 21st locked in for that. We'll be hosting it in Griffin, so it'll be in the middle of the state and hopefully easy for everyone to get to. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't get snowed out this year like we did last year and have to move it to a later date. And I know that a few of y'all were in that training with Deb last year. So if anybody wants to give a shout out for Deb, and, kind of let us know, let the others know kind of what that training meant to you and this conflict resolution, that would be really cool if y'all want to speak up on that. Anybody? I'm gonna call y'all out. Tanya. Tanya was there.
Yes, I was. So that that training like turned into way exceeded expectations. I can tell you it has greatly streamlined our board meetings. Instead of them going an hour plus, we're now an hour less. That was great. And she just gave a lot of really good real life examples of things. And I know we did get into conflict resolution, but I know I've already got this on my calendar. I would definitely sign up for it. She was really good. I felt like she really deep dove into anything we asked her about. Um, but I mean, she did great team building stuff, board building stuff, streamlining the board. We did do a little bit of conflict resolution, but we do work with the public, so we need more of that. But yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. So Deb's background, originally she worked with, I think, New Hampshire Main Street. So she was in the coordinating office, but she was also a local manager before she moved over to the private sector and did a lot of board nonprofit-ish work with, I think, PetSmart. She was with PetSmart. So she did a lot with their board. So she has a lot of board development experience. So I really highly recommend everyone on the call and beyond, bring your board members, bring yourself, bring people that you work with. But y'all just come to that training because I promise you it will be great because Deb is just so amazing. And then does anybody else have anything they want to say about Deb? Because she's wonderful. We'll shout out, we'll do a little Deb Love Fest. And the only other thing I have, one more announcement. If you have not seen my Facebook post or the emails that I've sent out, monthly reporting is down right now, unfortunately. And so y'all just hang tight. We're trying to work through that process. It's kind of a little bit out of our hands at the moment. So we're on top of it. We're trying to get them to, get it back up and going for y'all. But as soon as it's back open, I'll let everyone know so y'all can turn in your reports. And if it happens, hopefully not, but if it happens to just run past the end of the month, y'all have passed this month. So just know that. But hopefully it'll be done in the next week or so. Everybody can hop back on there. So I'll let y'all know. And that's all I have.
I have a
Thank you,
question.
Ellen. Yes, Ginger.
Good morning, Sherry. Good morning,
Good
Ellen. Good morning,
morning.
everyone. I want to ask, will there be hotels provided for the conflict resolution on January 20th to 21st?
We're trying to get a room block for the
Okay.
new downtown hotel in Griffin. We're working through that right now. So
Okay.
as soon as all that is solidified and we get the registration up, I'll send it out to everybody. But just
Okay,
know
great.
that on the registration, when you register, we'll have a link to the room block on there.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ellen?
I have a question, please. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ellen, do you have a sample of a great presentation for the assessment that you liked in terms of content that would be a guideline?
So if you go to the website and go to our resources library and click on that tab, the first thing that you'll see is annual assessments for like in person. If you click on that tab and scroll all the way to the bottom, we have 3 example presentations on there. And just know that so I think Gainesville's on there, Thomaston is on there, and Warrenton, because they all have beautiful presentations and they're really comprehensive. Jeffrey, while I love him and he's wonderful and he does a wonderful job, his is extremely long because he uses lots of pictures. So just know that we're not looking for a presentation that has 143 slides, but he does give good information and walk through stuff. So please know that when you're looking at those, we're not expecting that length of a presentation, but the pictures and the content were really good. So we wanted to share that with y'all.
I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right. I don't think Renee's on the call, and I don't think Ondi's on the call. Jason, do you want to give us an update for GDA?
Yeah, sure. Hey everybody, how you doing? So I think we just buttoned up our regional meetups for the year. I think those all went really well. Somebody else on the board, if I'm wrong, tell me. But we also have some training coming up. The certified downtown classes, Vidalia is next. So everyone will be down there November 12th and 13th. But the dates for next year's trainings are also available on the Georgia Downtown Association website, georgiadowntownassociation.org. So it's Fayetteville, March 10th and 11th, and Douglas, June 9th and 10th. So if you want to save those dates, please consider registering for that. But then also don't forget that there's some scholarship available should you want to apply for any of these trainings or any of the different conferences that you want to go to. But I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jason. Well, with that, I want to turn it over to our speaker for today, Jennifer Martin Lewis, Dr. Jennifer Martin Lewis, y'all.
No. Not
No.
not doctor. No.
Why have I seen that in so many places?
I don't know. I
Your
am not that
students.
smart.
Your students just want to call you that. Y'all, Jennifer and I were in graduate school together, so I am so happy that she is joining us today. Her title is Director for the Center of Community Design and Preservation with the UGA College of Environment and Design. And I just wanted her to come on and talk to everybody about some of the projects that she's worked with in downtowns around the states and that the state and that her students have also assisted communities with, and how you might could apply for that help from Jennifer. So take it away, Jennifer.
All right, will do. Speaking of 143 slides. All right. This is where I can see here. All right, fantastic. I am so glad to be with y'all today. Cherie, do you recognize my house that I'm in the Founders Garden House on campus? I am back in this office. As Cherie said, I've been a graduate assistant. I started out with the Community Design and Preservation Office as a graduate assistant. My background is in historic preservation, and I have loved the experience that I've had at the College of Environment and Design. I'm so excited to be able to give back to students that are coming through the program now. Our college, if you are not familiar, has got several disciplines that we bring some expertise in to communities. We've got degree programs in landscape architecture, both an undergrad and a graduate program. We do historic preservation at the master's level. We have a master's degree in urban planning and design, and then we have now a PhD in environmental planning and design. And my role is to connect communities in Georgia with our students and faculty so that they can benefit from mutually beneficial and reciprocal partnerships. We average about 50 outreach projects a year. Our college has been known for, because we are giving degree programs that are professional degrees, our students need that real world experience. They really need to hear from folks like y'all that are on the ground in the trenches doing this work, and to know what works and what doesn't. So it's a very, very beneficial program for us. We do this through a variety of outlets for how we are able to match our students and our faculty up with community projects. And opportunities for our communities are service learning classes, where we've got a professor who is got a particular set of learning outcomes that they're teaching, whether it's a landscape architecture studio or perhaps a preservation planning class, that they are incorporating service learning into their project, which means they are applying what they are learning in service to another community. It's different from volunteerism. You are really applying what you're learning, but also students reflect on that experience, and it helps them really understand and empathize with the community, but also grow as themselves. We also plug in students through particular research projects. and perhaps through graduate assistantships, either directly with the community, or often it's with a partner agency at the University of Georgia. We offer, through my office, we've got some special projects that are long-running projects that we've managed for a long time. One is our community design charrettes. These are opportunities where I put together a project and bring students to a community just for a weekend and do a blitz of design and feedback and community engagement, and usually works very well if you're a community that has maybe several kind of wicked problems that you're trying to solve at once. Lots of things going on, and you really want to engage your community and get their feedback. This is a great opportunity for us to bring a multidisciplinary team of our students to your community. And then I'll talk a little bit about this more, but we've also have a program called the Find It program, where is sponsored by the Georgia Transmission Corporation, and we have partners across the state that we train students to be architectural historians. Basically, they are looking at understanding cultural resources and being able to transmit why those resources are relevant to your community as a first layer of any preservation planning that you might want to do. And then we also have a student job board. Let me tell you, I get a lot of calls from folks who are like, "Hey, do you have a class that can design my backyard?" Well, no, we're not going to put a class on that, but I do have students that are always looking to expand their skills. So whether it's a building assessment or some landscape design work, I'm happy to help find a match. So basically, that's me. I'm a matchmaker. So I wanted to show y'all a couple of projects of some of the big bucket work that we do, and thought I would start out with downtown revitalization, considering my audience. I hope I didn't know who was going to be at this meeting. I'm very excited to see that. I hope that some of you recognize some of your communities in this presentation. There also may be some superstars. I'm looking at Taylor Smith and Jason Ford. You may have seen some of their projects before. Hartwell and Thomason are kind of getting some stuff done. But I wanted to showcase the way that we were happy to be a small part of their success and that impact. So the first one that I wanted to showcase, this was a very early project that we did in Locust Grove. There was a design charrette where they were looking at a variety of issues, parks and some corridor improvements, but mainly downtown revitalization and some facade rehabilitations. They really wanted a vision for what Locust Grove could look like. And it wasn't until, I believe this charrette was in 2004. And it wasn't until recently that I was able to go back and say, hey, I wonder what Locust Grove has been working on the past 20 years. And I was so excited to see really a complete transformation of their main drag. And that's one of the things that is always hard for our students. We are often coming into a project very much at the beginning or the spark of an idea. And sometimes it does take a while, as y'all very well know, to get things moving, to get the right folks on board, to get funding. But it really does pay off in the end. And I think having that preservation approach to downtown revitalization, as most of y'all know, is very, very successful and exciting to see. One of my favorite projects that I've gotten to do recently was with Taylor in Thomaston, Georgia. Taylor came to us as part of a partnership with the Archway Partnership and his Connected Resilient Communities program that they were involved in, which I really like to call Archway Light. And it's a way that they are partnering with public service faculty at the University of Georgia to help facilitate some projects to get done in kind of a rapid time frame, 3 projects in about a year and a half. And Taylor came to me knowing that we had a historic preservation program and said, hey, we are interested in getting some facade drawings for our buildings. She's like, we've got property owners that are interested. We have a historic preservation commission that can do the design review and make sure the changes are appropriate. We have a downtown development authority that's created a facade grant. What we don't have locally is someone that can illustrate what these changes that the property owners want can look like based on our design guidelines. So this is how I got started in my career. So I was like, ooh, me, I'll do this. and had students that were preservation students that were really interested in learning how to draw. And so for 2 days, I took them down to Thomaston, taught them how to draw. They already knew a good way, they were familiar with analyzing historic buildings and researching historic photographs. And being able to illustrate these changes for them was very satisfying. This building in particular, I'll back up and say that you can see in the top left corner was completely covered with a stucco, sort of a fake stucco styrofoam in the late 1990s. Actually, this one may have been real cement stucco because I think it was very hard to get off the building. But when they started to do the removal, based on the drawings that we had seen or photographs we had seen in historic newspapers, we're like, the downstairs may be a little bit too damaged. You may not be able to take the stucco off, but try the upstairs. There should be a brick facade. Here are some examples of what the storefront used to look like based on historic photographs. When they started working on the building, they were uncovering the stucco and found this really amazing stacked riverstone first floor and this beautiful historic ghost signage that says furniture down the side. And they're like, should we cover this back up? And I'm like, oh no, please don't cover that up. That's fantastic. You should definitely keep it as is, repair the storefronts. Oh, it'll look fantastic. And when I got to go back a couple of weeks ago, I was so excited to see this building. Both 3 storefronts have been restored. There's a very fabulous dress shop and some other boutiques in there. Just really amazing work. And they did a great job with a very sensitive approach to the building, and really shows its historic character much more than I expected it to, which was exciting. Another one of our projects in Thomaston was a much simpler building. And I had a very sweet student who had not drawn very much before, was really nervous about her graphic skills. And I was like, you know what, we're giving them an idea. It's okay. We just want to give them good preservation principles to move forward. And I tell y'all, she was so nervous about talking to this property owner. And when they did meet and she showed her the ideas that my student had based on what the property owner wanted, Jenny, the owner, was so excited. She's like, yes, this is exactly what I had in mind. This is super helpful. And so to get to go back and see that Jenny had taken this vision of her barbershop and her cigar lounge and really did a great rehab of some very simple but historic buildings downtown, just visually knocked it out of the park. It looks really great. One of the projects that I have loved, communities that I've loved working on over the years, is in Hawkinsville. I got to work with them early on, and then again in 2020, our latest iteration of working with them. I had the greatest project planned. Hawkinsville wanted to recruit a brew pub to downtown. And I was like, this is something that I can get behind. This is going to be a great idea. And such an interesting concept for a small southern town to recognize the advantages of having an alcohol-based business, right? This is not something that we focused on, very many years ago. But let me tell you, this was a project that college students were really excited about researching. So we did some research and we visited some brew pubs to see how fun they were, but really drilled down to what made brew pubs successful. And if you think about it, the ones that you have been to, they are often in historic buildings, often in industrial buildings. They've got a very family-friendly atmosphere. Kids and dogs are welcomed and encouraged. They are often tied to an outdoor resource, whether it's just that they have an outdoor beer garden or they're next to the river. They're really taking advantage of the outdoor view sheds that a place might have. And brew pubs and breweries are very community oriented. They really give back to the place that they are in myriad ways, whether it's serving as a location for meetings or donating funds or foods or drinks to festivals. They are a really fantastic community partner. Hawkinsville had all of these elements in spades. It had a historic Ocmulgee River. It had several historic buildings in the industrial parts of town that were in need of rehab. And the capacity was there to, given past downtown revitalization projects, it was really primed for this to happen. So I will say that while this particular rendering and this particular Beard and Oil Company building has not been revitalized yet, y'all, I'm holding out hope. I'm so excited. But one of the things that we did with our charrette was we looked at 4 different locations to look at what about these 4 empty buildings might be conducive to hosting a brew pub. And one of them that we looked at was a space on the main drag that unfortunately had a historic building in it that needed to be taken out. So there was sort of a gap in their smile downtown. And we looked at ways to revitalize this space in a couple of phases. Ultimately, we were suggesting to put a new building back in this space so that you had, additional retail space and it didn't have a gap downtown. But in the interim, one of the suggestions our students made was to look at using that space as a small outdoor park. Hawkinsville had already had some success in their festivals with bringing in food trucks, and they were using an alleyway behind some of their buildings. And we thought this would be kind of a good pilot project to start out and see if a little bit of an investment might turn it into something successful. And the Pulaski Tomorrow adult leadership class took this on as a project after the charrette, and used these ideas and got some new finalized designs and has made this happen. So this wonderful picture at the bottom is not a really good Photoshop. It is actually what it looks like today, which is great. So this is looking from their main street into the vacant space. And in the back, via an alleyway, they have a spot where a food truck can pull up and park, and they can use that platform at the back either as a stage or as an entrance to access getting food from the truck, which is really great. Also, as part of this design charrette in Hawkinsville, we wanted to look at their riverfront park that was on the Ocmulgee River. This park is an interesting challenge. What bothered the community about it was the giant power lines, because that was all you saw. There was a small little veterans park that's off to the left of this slide in the existing photograph. They had just had both roads over the river expanded, and there was a lot of traffic, and it was very loud. And this is the entrance that people approach to their downtown. Plus, this park was really never used. It's on a bluff, so you have to be right at the edge to actually get to see the river. And it was just a big open space that wasn't very attractive. And so the students looked at it and listened to what the community said that they wanted, and also provided some design ideas that would maybe buffer the noise from the roads. If you notice in the proposed photograph, the transmission lines are still there, but it's not what you notice because the other investments have been made and there's some amenities that will draw folks to the project. This is one that also has been implemented and is so exciting. I hope y'all will go to see it the next time y'all are in Hawkinsville. This was a project that was phased. We worked very closely with our friends at the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, who have a lot of CED graduates in planning and preservation and landscape architecture in that program, and worked with the city of Hawkinsville and the Archway Partnership to refine this plan and these ideas and seek some grants. And so they got a land and water conservation grant to implement some of the ideas that the community liked from the different design iterations that were put forward. And it's a very active space. Transmission lines are still there. You just don't see them anymore. So given Jason Ford's engagement with this group, y'all are probably very familiar with Railroad Park, but I wanted to showcase this given the work that our students put into it. I believe there were a couple of iterations where the College of Environment and Design was asked to help vision what this space could be. There's a very active local advocacy group that has focused on this project. And we've had, I know that there were some early assistantships through the Archway Partnership, and then a later one more recently, a few years ago, that refined the ideas that the community had been talking about for a while and some of their goals for this space. Railroad Street is in the middle of this photograph. It is just south of Depot Street, which is just south of the Courthouse Square. So a couple of blocks off the main drag. And in the left side of the photograph is where their historic depot is and some other commercial buildings that is very accessible, but not a very attractive space. So the ideas were to create a linear park that honored the railroad's heritage, but also was a space for gatherings and for special events, but also just for a park for activities for children to go to. So this was the final master plan that was produced by our graduate student, Elizabeth Crimmins. She was a landscape architecture student that served as in an assistantship with the Archway Partnership. Some of her visions: the depot had already been lovingly restored and was an actively used space, but the landscape around it needed some attention. So she showed it activated with plantings and seating and playground areas for children. This project came about with a lot, as Jason, I'm sure, has told you, a lot of volunteer hours and fundraising and grant raising. And these people moving junk in the mud in the rain is really impressive. I hope they got lots of kudos and lots of awards for this work. But now is a successful space for movies on the lawn, a wonderful railroad themed playground for children, and lots of native plantings. And the community continues to seek volunteers and keeps the park upgraded, which is a great investment. Jason, what you want to share about this project?
Hey, I just want to tell you, like, this is the new place to be in downtown Hartwell. We just had another business do a multi-million-dollar renovation, historic preservation project on a building. We just had another little planting and cleanup, but Railroad Street now and this park is absolutely a fabulous place to be. I'm going to try and drop a couple of pictures of what it looks like now. And you looked at those renderings that Jennifer just shared. It's exactly what it looks like today. And this project was dead, y'all. Like, it was dead. ARC was getting ready to claw back grant funding because it just hadn't moved. And one little catalyst happened, and it not just transformed this project, but the entire area. And so you never know what the little spark is going to be. And just being able to do some renderings and what it could look like so people can visualize it can be the only thing that you need to really jumpstart your project.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. It is such a great showpiece. So branching off from downtown revitalization a little bit, I wanted to focus on some of the other ways, the big bucket projects that our college is known for, and the projects that we like to work on. Given that we have a historic preservation program, our students, not just in our program, but throughout the college, really have an appreciation for historic places. And we look at all of our work with that lens to protect what is authentic about a community. If you've probably never been to this particular park. It is not a park yet, but it is a piece of property outside of downtown Athens called Beach Haven that was in the early 1800s, it was a retreat for a local family outside of town. Now it's surrounded by a Blind Pig pub and a Howard Johnson's and a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's on the river and is an incredible showcase of landscape and architecture from the arts and crafts movement. And so our students have focused on it through several years, on a restoration plan for the sensitive structures here, and are looking at partnering with 2 land trusts and the county on developing it, and the Historic Athens Preservation Group, using SPLOST funds to develop it into a passive park and reserve. That's an exciting, on making some progress on this project. Through our cultural landscape classes, we focus on the whole picture for historic preservation, not just the buildings themselves, but the landscape and the setting as well. This was a great project that my office partnered a design charrette with a cultural landscape assessment class taught by our faculty for a camp meeting ground in Newton County called Salem Campground. This is a religious camp meeting site that was a very rural religious retreat place. I like to think of it as a combination of summer camp and vacation Bible school and family reunions all wrapped into one, but you have no electricity and no air conditioning. And it's a great way communities have done this. There are lots in Georgia to really cement their faith and escape for a little bit. This is one of the most active ones that still exists in Georgia. And they came to us with a very interesting challenge. They wanted to grow their campground and be able to add some new buildings, which historically are known as tents. And so we had a partnership. The cultural landscape assessment class really did an evaluation of the historic character of the place and its history to look at the importance of how buildings were sited and how they were constructed. And then the work that the design charrette did was to focus on some new design plans for the buildings that would go outside of the main campus, but still fit in. And this is one that I definitely need to go back and visit and see if they have been able to implement some of our ideas. But it really helps cement some fundraising for them, and I know they are en route to be able to grow their organization and grow their facilities and their offerings. The Find It program that I mentioned is a long-running partnership that we've had for about 20 years between the Georgia Transmission Corporation, Department of Transportation, State Preservation Office, and some entities on campus that helps train students in recognizing historic resources, and it gets this information documented in the state's historic database, which is known as NARGIS, which is the Georgia's Natural, Archaeological, and Historic Resources Geographic Information System, which is a mouthful, but it's basically our state's record of historic properties. This is a very fun project for our students. They are also hired almost out of the gate upon graduation because they have such strong cultural resource management experience in participating in this program. What I'm excited about is that for the past probably about 5 years, we've been working on some really big projects that have taken us multiple years to get through, and we are coming out on the other side of those and have reevaluated our program to want to focus on doing smaller scale surveys for communities, something that we can wrap up in a year. So this, because it gives students a wide variety of architectural styles and types to look at, and lets them be involved in the process from pre-survey to surveying to actually developing a report and some deliverables as well. So that's something that I'm hoping to be able to offer in the next year or so. If you're coming to the State Preservation Conference, we're doing a session on survey for local governments, so you can hear about some more of the work that we do. And then a few more slides I wanted to share. We have another area of focus that we have is on rural health. Our landscape architecture program is our largest in our college, and they do the most service learning projects. One that's been exciting in terms of the health framework is to help focus on communities being able to develop ways to combat high rates of obesity, whether it's through community gardens or also walking trails and paths. Oh, and for a lot of communities in rural areas, they may be very spread out. And so we're looking at large scale trail projects. But for our downtowns, they are inherently walkable. And so making sure that those areas provide the kind of variety of walking that people can do and encourage that everyday walkability between, running errands. If that's something that can be done not in a car, then those daily trips really help contribute to overall community and physical health. So this is just a project that we had done in McDuffie County. This was an interesting one where we were asked to develop a trail system in their wildlife management area, which was next to a park. McDuffie, the city of Thompson was kind of frustrated that they have this wonderful resource that the Department of Natural Resources manages, but they cannot really build on it or take advantage of it as an economic development tool in terms of putting in buildings or restaurants or riverside properties. But they can put in some trails. And so they really wanted to capitalize on this and come up with some trails that were built on a river trail that they had already developed, but then put in some land trails for both walking and hiking and biking and equestrian use. And the focus that our students had was on researching how these kinds of trails and different users can coexist and where they should be separate, but then also worked on revitalizing some campgrounds that they had, the city was now managing, to make them more accessible and exciting and grow their attendance. We've also done work through landscape management classes for historic farmsteads that focus on heritage preservation and tourism and local foods and natural resources. This one, the students developed a farmstay concept that would help draw in visitors and generate income for a historic farm. And then I think my last little bucket I wanted to talk about was coastal resiliency, which is really environmental resiliency and dealing with the changes that our communities are facing in the face of climate change and sea level rise. And you do not have to be very close to the coast to recognize that if we get a major rainstorm, we've got flooding in areas that we did not have before. And so communities are looking for solutions from our landscape architects and our environmental planning students to how to be more resilient given the face of these changes. We've come up with green infrastructure solutions for Brunswick that involve native plantings and boardwalks. And then Cherie Bennett, do I remember that you're from Montezuma, Georgia?
Sure am.
Yes, you are. So you remember that major flood that happened in 1994 that the community is in a lot of ways still reeling from, but also is very distrustful of the local waterways and has not, doesn't take advantage of them as a resource. And so one of our recent classes looked at ways that you could use green infrastructure and stormwater runoff and other beautification techniques to try to mitigate that flood potential, but in ways that in non-flood seasons are really able to take advantage of the riverway as a natural resource. And granted, these are big ideas. These are long-term investment projects. But as Jason said, you never know what's going to spark an idea. And so with something like this, building boardwalks and putting in green infrastructure on this length of a property may take a while and a lot of grant writing investment, but putting in public murals and artwork is something that just requires a call to the Lamar Dodd School of Art and their Paint the World Bright program and some investment in some paint, and they can really begin to help that vision transpire. And I know a lot of our communities have benefited from them. Lastly, our underserved neighborhoods are an area of focus that I'm very passionate about, whether it is economic disinvestment. We have a history of racially segregated schools where we have school buildings that were built for the Black community but have not continued to be used by the school district in the same capacity. And being able to show the resources that these communities can tap into and provide that vision is very gratifying for us and our students. This was a project that we did with Jason in Hartwell. It was actually part of a larger trail development program that they have had some great success in getting funding for from Hartwell, from the former Hartwell State Park into downtown. But it runs through the Rose neighborhood, the Rome Richardson neighborhood. And we wanted to tie in some ways that trail investment and that walkability could be transferred to a neighborhood that had the advantage of sitting between where the trail could run and downtown Hartwell. We've also had some great success in Washington, Georgia, in Wilkes County. This was a design charrette that we did in 2007 of a particular block, sort of a long block on the outskirts of their downtown that needed safe and dignified mixed income housing. Our students looked at precedent projects for historic buildings, historic homes that were in the area, and came up with design illustrations for what new construction should look like to help it fit in to the rest of the neighborhood and still be affordable. And so they've done about 13 new houses using CDBG funds. So again, these are kind of projects that might take several years and several grant cycles, but have ultimately been really successful and exciting. We've focused a lot on historic school campuses. Again, a lot of those that have been located in neighborhoods that have suffered from disinvestment, they are a potential resource for new activities and community centers within those neighborhoods. One that I was excited to work with was in Elberton with the Blackwell Memorial High School property. You can see from this master plan where the lawn and the outdoor market is shown currently. This is where their main education buildings were. They had been torn down by the time we got involved, but there was a shop building that we showed reimagined as a classroom on the left, and then a gymnasium that was still standing. That was the main area of focus for them because they were working on the Granite City Life Skills Foundation was working on developing an after-school program and wanted to use the building. So we looked at ways that we could sort of have a grand plan for this campus, but also use some baby steps. This is a photograph of when we visited the gym. It was not in horrible shape. There were not giant holes in the roof. We had a little bit of a hole in the roof. We had some damage in the beautiful basketball floors. There was spotty power and no electricity, and so therefore no air conditioning. So there was some potential, but they had some hurdles to get through. So we helped them vision what the gym could look like. And we focused on the heritage of Mr. Blackwell, that was one of the prominent Black educators in this community. The illustration of him in the corner reflects the original school building that was across from this location that had since been torn down. And we showed how revitalizing the gym could not only provide an after-school space, but also connect to the heritage of education in this community. I was so excited to get to go back a couple of years ago and see all the progress that they have made. It has taken them a long time and small little pots of money and a whole lot of donors. But this community has pulled together to create a very active after-school program. They have repaired the beautiful maple floors, repaired the roof, got the air conditioning running, the bathrooms fixed up. And it was a hive of activity the summertime that we visited, and was really exciting. So it was nice to be able to celebrate this project with them. So I just wanted to showcase that a lot of these projects, they do take a while, and we have recently been so excited to hear some of the projects some that came together very quickly and some that were years in the making that have had an impact with various funding sources through projects that our college has been involved in. Of the ones that I haven't talked about, the River Valley Region Project is a large effort through the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, working with the Department of Defense and the communities around the base at Fort Moore, or Fort Benning as it's often known, to help revitalize these communities with mutual assets for places that the Department of Defense cannot let the community develop because of their closeness to the base, but can take advantage of in terms of other ways like trails and other kinds of resources and downtown revitalization investment. And we've also done some work in Milledgeville. They got a HUD grant, or maybe it may have been a congressional appropriation of $4.9 million focused on a neighborhood that needed health and safety improvements. And part of that was a park and sidewalk and lighting investments that went towards that project, which was very exciting. So I know y'all probably have some questions for like, okay, I have some ideas, Jennifer, how do we get involved? How do we sign up? So for the investment level, I will say depends. For our service learning classes, ultimately what I tell communities is like, I would like students not to be out any money to have to travel to the community and take time out of their schedule and produce graphics for you. I want to facilitate them being able to come in a way that's not financially detrimental to them. Y'all, we have a lot of students from wealthy school districts in Atlanta, but we also have a lot of students from not Atlanta that do not necessarily have a car, do not necessarily have extra resources to put towards travel. So an easy way that I tell my faculty and their potential community partners, an easy way that y'all can contribute is that if you can contribute $200, $300, $400 to help them rent vans, if you feed them while they're there, if you've got some funding so that they can turn their projects into printed documents that you can keep, this is all great ways to help offset the costs of doing service learning projects. And then I encourage my faculty to, make sure that they have conversations with you about what it is that you need. How can you best use the ideas that we come up with? Is it a final report, or is it a presentation? Is it being interviewed by the newspaper? Is it developing graphics for your Facebook page? Having those conversations is really important to keep in mind. For our student assistantships and our research projects, it kind of depends. I like to help match graduate students up who are looking for research, master's research that might be very practical for your community, and having that kind of partnership that may not require any funding for y'all at all. But if you've got a project that you would like to hire a graduate student for a semester, that ballpark is about $7,000, and that is funding them. It funds their tuition. It covers their tuition. It gives them a little bit of a stipend, and it is 13 hours a week, a semester. So you can have your very own graduate student to work on your project, should you want to pursue that. For our design charrettes, this is an effort that I am usually working on for about 2 semesters at a time. I fund a graduate assistantship through this project, and they are responsible for doing all of the research and the logistical planning, and then developing a report and our final deliverables afterwards. I run it through 2 semesters because that keeps us flexible. I'm not tied to the academic schedule. So when the class, when the semester ends, I'm not out, like I'm still around. And so the planning that goes into being able to do that rapid ideation and brainstorming and development over just a weekend takes a lot of planning on the front end and a lot of planning on the back end. So my design charrettes usually run about, I would say, $17,000. That's focusing on 2 semesters of a graduate assistantship, and then transportation and report deliverables. What I ask from my communities is for y'all to house us and feed us while we're there. I bring in anywhere from 6 to 20 students will come to the community for the weekend, and I don't want them to be out any money. I want them to love their time there. I want them to get energized by speaking to the public. And so if y'all can feed us and put us up, everything else is, my time is donated, their time is donated. You're just funding a graduate assistantship and housing us and feeding us while we're there. So those are some of the big bucket projects that we have. This is my information, which I can let y'all write down, and then I will stop sharing my screen, and I'm happy to answer any questions in the little bit of time that we've got left.
What questions do y'all have for Jennifer? I did put
Hey,
her
this is
contact
Tracy.
information in the chat. Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Jennifer collaborated on tourism product development in the other life when I was at Explore Georgia. And I just love seeing that essentially the work continues, that it continues with, as you said, practical projects for the students, realistic hopes and dreams for the communities. And I just applaud everything in all the buckets that you shared today, some of which I didn't even know about. So great job. Keep it up.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. It's so good to see you.
You too.
Good
Hi, Ginger.
morning.
Good morning,
Hi,
Ginger.
Jennifer. Good morning, Jennifer. I'm from the city of College Park, and I love your presentation, Jennifer. We're in the process of trying to work on our facade. We have a facade grant, but we need to get it more in sync and upgrade our buildings. And I just love what you did with the buildings. So,
And historic preservation with the depot.
right. When actually, we're working on the depot as well. They're going to renovate the depot. That's in process. So Stay tuned. I'll be contacting you, Jennifer. Thank you
That's
so much.
great. I'll look forward to hearing from you, Ginger.
Yes, I want to show your presentation to some board members as well, so we can get this started. So thank you.
Can do.
Thank you. Okay.
Anybody else? Well, y'all have Jennifer's contact information. If you need to contact her, you can do that. I also wanted to quickly call on Carly. You wanted to make an announcement? I think you're there.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
I've
ma'am.
never used this new camera. Well, after 15 years as Main Street Director in Milledgeville, I am moving on to the university system. Georgia College had a Director of University Events position, and I am going to be moving to that on December 1st. So I will not be in Main Street anymore. I'm going to miss you guys so much. You guys know LaRue. I'm glad she's gotten to know everybody over the past year or so. She's going to be here, and my role will be open. And so they're going to be posting it hopefully before I leave, because they want to have me try and help as much as I can. I'm definitely wanting to make it like a smooth transition. LaRue is not interested in the director's job, but she will still be here. So if anyone's interested, that job will be posted in the next few weeks. And yeah, so there's that. Just want to let y'all know. I wanted to be at the Mobilize Main Street, and I planned on telling everybody then, but I'm still coughing, like had whatever kind of crud forever. So I missed that, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to tell everybody, Cherie. I'll miss y'all, but keep in touch.
We will miss you as well, Carly, so much.
Yeah.
Also wanted to give Andrew an opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Cherie. So I haven't been quite in Main Street as long as Carly, but Carly was one of my first people that I contacted when I joined Main Street. So I've been here for like 10 years. I'm now leaving. This will be my final days tomorrow. So it will be posted. I'm just not sure when. I'd like to thank everyone that I've met throughout the years. Your advice and helpfulness, I'll always remember. But it's time to move on. And I should really have spoken to Tracy first. She's my region rep, but there we go. And she knows now. But yeah, so thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Andrew. You will be missed. But thank you for sharing with us so that we know. Anybody, well, nobody else can leave, but does anybody else have a question or an announcement? And Andrew and Carly, please check out the chat because people are leaving sweet messages for y'all.
It's touching. Thank you.
Yes, thank y'all.
Cherie,
I
I
do
would
want
be
to mention
remiss.
something, but go ahead, Trey. I'll finish after Tracy.
Okay.
Tracy.
I would be remiss if I didn't remind folks that DCA's annual conference is in Savannah, November 17 through 20. It is largely a housing focus, and the UGA program GIC for housing is wrapped into it. So, but I will say that, Cherie, there are a couple of tracks on placemaking and downtown development that are featured in the agenda. Is it maybe 2 or 3 in case somebody's in the area and wants to pop in for the day?
Yes, I'm doing a session, and Tara Bradshaw is going to be speaking, and Laura Nipper will be speaking, and got to find one more person, but I'll be speaking. That'll be Tuesday morning at 9, and then I know that Tara is planning on doing a placemaking session for the GIC track.
Okay, good. Just wanted to throw that out there. I know it's a ways to travel, but if you're nearby and those sessions interest you and they align, with your schedule, just FYI. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. Ebony, what you got?
I just attended Main Street America's Transformation Strategies workshop, and For those of you who attended Mobilize Main Street, I told y'all that I'm trying to do some social media stuff, but then of course I forget. So I needed to shout out the folks who attended the workshop with me in Columbia. Nargis and Winston from the Atlanta cohort were there, as well as Natalie from Commerce. And so it was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. Reach out to them if you have any questions about it. And I would encourage anyone who gets an opportunity to attend a Main Street America workshop or training opportunity to please do so. They have such an amazing education staff, and they are looking to do more of these transformation strategy workshops in the future. So please reach out if you have any questions. But like I said, I wanted to give a quick shout out to those who attended the workshop with me.
Anybody else?
Good morning, everyone. Winston Taylor. Just want to say thank you for everything. Last week, the Mobilize Georgia, this week, the Main Street Transformation Strategy, Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Tracy, you know, how we go back and you guys put this idea in my mind. I just want to say thank you for all the work that all of you guys are doing. It's just wonderful to be able to see it come together, and just look forward for this journey, you know, in terms of developing the ML corridor here in Atlanta. So thank you for all of the training development. It is a wonderful journey for people to be on. Thank you.
Thanks, Winston. It was good to meet you. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, we will stay on. If you want to talk to us afterwards, I'll ask Jennifer to stay on too, in case anybody has any questions for her. But other than that, I hope y'all have a great week, and we will see y'all next month. Bye.